Welcome to Mrs. True Crime. Today's video is an in-depth look into the sex exploitation ring of Sanford, North Carolina. It's a tale of molestation and horror. If you're triggered by anything dealing with rape, molestation, and or harm to children, feel free to click off this video. Perhaps check out a Swan video for some lighthearted content. If not, I'm Nicole. Let's get started. Quote, about me. Well, I'm happily married to my husband Bailey of 7 years. We have 2 precious boys, Joseph and William, and a Siberian Husky, Ambrose, Ambi. Life is challenging right now. Bailey is in Raleigh taking care of his grandparents. His grandfather has Alzheimer's. The boys and I live majority of the time in Sanford. I just cannot get along with my grandmother-in-law. We're just too stuck in our own ways, and we fought constantly. I hate being away from my husband so much, but we make it work. Unquote. That is the About Me section on Elizabeth Holland Mills' Facebook. Her statuses include her love of God, her adventures through motherhood, and her care for garden spiders. Her photos present a loving, typical home showcasing holidays with family and random snapshots of her 2 sons. But what is absent is the truth. Hidden behind her words and camera poses was a home filled with videos, images, and erotica of children and adults alike, and it unfortunately operated for a year. From what I gather from Elizabeth's Facebook page, she and her husband of 10 years, Bailey Joe Mills, met at church. At the time, she didn't notice him, her eyes landing on someone else, but that relationship would fade. Around 2002, she would run into Bailey at Wake Technical Community College in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they would hit it off from there. A year later, on September 17, 2003, the couple would wed, and 4 years later, they would have their first child. 2 years later, another son would be born. In March 2011, Elizabeth and the family moved to Raleigh, though it was short-lived. In November 2011, the family moved to 184 Nicole Drive in Sanford, North Carolina. The home was owned by Sarah Grimm Collins, who rented the home to the Mills for approximately 18 months. Collins said that Bailey was, quote, down to earth and chatty, unquote. She says he was unemployed, though Elizabeth's Facebook states that he worked at Kelly Services, a temporary agency, quote, putting boxes on pallets and wrapping the pallets, unquote, starting August 2012. In December 2013, he received an interview at Belkin, which, quote, specializes in design and engineering, supply chain and manufacturing, software and analytics, and technical recruiting services, unquote, though she doesn't state whether he landed the job or not. Collins said that Elizabeth was an exotic dancer and that she paid the $750 monthly rent herself. The couple, it appeared, operated a daycare out of their Sanford home, but Collins remarks that the house showed no sign of anything of the sort. She checked on the family every other week and recalled that the only children she saw on the property were the couple's 2 sons. It wasn't until the couple, along with 3 others, were arrested in January 2014 on molestation, indecent liberties with a child, and sex exploitation of a minor charges that Collins learned what the family was really capable of. She says she couldn't imagine that Elizabeth had anything to do with the claims because she was, quote, a really sweet woman, unquote, yet notes that she found out Bailey had a sexual deviant past after his mother moved their belongings out of the home. Bailey Joe Mills, as presented by his wife's social media, was a loving and kind man who enjoyed video games and cared for his ailing parents until their untimely deaths in 2012. Yet, what the social media posts leave out is Mills' criminal background. By the time Mills' face was plastered on different media outlets, such as Daily Mail, he already had 3 convictions under his belt. At 16, in March 1997, he was accused and later pled guilty to, quote, taking indecent liberties with a 3-year-old child to arouse himself sexually, unquote, at Shelley Lake in North Raleigh. His convicted agreement involved 3 years probation and to stay away from children younger than 13, parks and playgrounds, and to receive psychological treatment and participate in a sex offender program. In 1999, he was arrested once more for assaulting a 16 and 14-year-old girl for inappropriate touching. He was convicted of 2 counts of assault on a female, though according to the News and Observer, his conviction wasn't legally considered a sex offense. The following year in 2000, he pled guilty to, quote, taking indecent liberties with an 11-year-old child to arouse himself, unquote, at a Capitol Boulevard flea market. He was then placed on the state's sex offender registry, where his name expired 6 years later. Despite his long-standing history with underage youths, he operated a daycare and mentoring program that authorities say were to attract young girls and create a relationship with their parents. Once their trust was developed, Mills then offered the girls money to have sex with men he discovered through social media. For a year, the operation involved 10 male and female victims ranging from 1 to 14. The ruse came to light when a teenage girl came forward with evidence that Mills wanted sex from her and was willing to pay for it. An unnamed 13-year-old girl reported to Harnett County deputies with her father that Mills offered her $300 in exchange for sex. She met Mills through one of her friends. After their introduction, Mills took the teenager to the mall and purchased clothes for her. They then left and ventured to his home where she changed into them. The investigation would learn that many of the youths, quote, were made to change into lingerie and exotic dancing costumes, then made to demonstrate exotic dancing moves on a metal pole in the outbuilding, unquote. While she changed, she noticed cameras around the room. Either to ease her into the cameras or around him, Mills then showed her videos of her friend performing sexual acts on a male. It's unclear how long her involvement with Mills lasted, but she came forward after some time stating that she had sexual relations with him at least twice. It's also unclear if Mills was contacting her for more sexual relations or for other sexual conversations, but in any case, her parents found the messages via Facebook and immediately contacted police. Bailey Jo Mills was then arrested. The investigation seized multiple computers, cell phones, and media storage devices containing 125 videos and 924 still images portraying child sexual exploitation. The media was produced by Mills with the assistance of Elizabeth. It featured Mills as well as other men, though one article claimed an adult female can be found on the footage. Along with these images, the couple also possessed over 10,000 additional images of child pornography and over 100,000 images of child erotica and adult pornography. Bailey Jo Mills was criminally charged with manufacturing child pornography on June 12, 2014. Elizabeth Mills was criminally charged with aiding and abetting the manufacturing of child pornography on October 20, 2014. Bailey was also charged with the rape of a child and sexual exploitation. He was found guilty January 2014 and sentenced to 45 years in prison. So far, according to the NCDPS Offender Public Records, he has received 1 infraction as of March 2018 for selling/misuse of medication. His projected release date is April 2051. Along with her criminal charges, Elizabeth was also charged with second-degree sex exploitation of a minor and indecent liberties with a child. Her second-degree offense meant that she, quote, recorded, photographed, filmed, developed, duplicated, or sold a visual representation depicting a minor, younger than 18, engaged in sexual activity, unquote. For example, one article claims Elizabeth photographed a nude 9-year-old on a pole as an adult held the child and performed sexual acts. She was sentenced to 16 years, followed by 10 years of supervised release. She has to register as a sex offender. Yet, according to the NCDPS Offender Public Records, if I'm reading it correctly, she was released January 2016, serving only 2 years. Her parole ends December 2020. The next to be arrested was 29-year-old Sergeant First Class Jordan Everett Buss, who was a Fort Bragg soldier assigned to the 3rd Special Forces Group. Jordan was arrested and charged on June 9, 2014 with felony conspiracy and computer solicitation of a child. Mills created a chat room application that allowed Jordan to contact a 12-year-old girl. Reports state that he asked the girl to meet at a hotel for sex, but the two never met in person. He posted $75,000 bond 3 days after his arrest. According to public record, he has moved to California. Next is Rayshawn Rodriguez Drake Jackson, 20, of Sanford. He was arrested and charged on April 4, 2014 with first-degree sex offense with a child and felony conspiracy. According to the North Carolina Offender Registry, he was 19 at the time of offense, and the victim was 11. Prior to his arrest, according to NCDPS Offender Public Records, he held 2 convictions: possessing stolen goods in 2011 and assault on a female in 2013. Upon his incarceration, he has 3 infractions: disobeying orders twice, and threatened to harm/injure staff. His projected release date is January 26, 2019. 50-year-old Tommy Keith Wall was arrested June 24, 2014, and charged with first-degree rape of a child, felony conspiracy, and first-degree sex offense with a child. Authorities asked the public for help, releasing screen caps of evidence found on the Mills computer to identify Wall. The images shown Wall having sex with an adult female and committing a hands-on sexual act with a child. Wall discovered he was a wanted man from his supervisor at Stock Building Supply on June 3rd. The supervisor explained that there was a photo on television that showed a man closely resembling Wall who was wanted for a sex crime against a child, and was then sent a link to the story. Wall then called the number at the bottom and was brought into the police station. Detective B.M. Bird showed Wall photographs of a room in the Mills' home and asked if he recognized it. Wall said he didn't. He was then showed photos of 4 teen girls and of the others arrested and asked if he knew them. Wall pointed out Elizabeth, saying that he visited her home in 2011 after dropping off a load of lumber to a customer. He commented that he noticed cameras and computers at the home. His thought process was that he may appear on the videos because of his visit to the home. According to his lawyer, Fred Webb, that is correct. Quote, "The picture of him was taken when he visited Elizabeth Mills well before the time period when the crimes take place," unquote. Webb said that authorities claimed to have 2 videos linking Wall to the case. As I've previously stated, there are apparent images of Wall committing sex acts with an adult female and a child. One of the videos was positively identified as Wall, but was simply surveillance video of his visit delivering lumber. Continuing his questioning, the detective asked Wall if he went by another name, seeing as the man they were looking for went by Peter Gilbert. Wall claimed he only went by his own. Further red flags that Wall may not be the same man on camera was that the man they were looking for and Mills frequented strip clubs in Raleigh and Fayetteville. According to Wall, quote, "I can't remember the last time I was at a strip club. I don't like them. Look at my gas charges of me ever being in Fayetteville. If I was such a big ringleader, why aren't there phone records of me calling Bailey Mills?" Unquote. Even Elizabeth Mills could not positively identify Wall. Lawyer Webb also said that Wall didn't have internet, which was a source for communication between Mills, the older men, and the children. Still, Wall was arrested and properly charged and appeared in court sometime later. During the court hearing, the video of the man abusing a child was released, and the defense learned it was not Wall on the video. Quote, "When they did show it, they noticed I was not the man in the video. I have tattoos on my back. The guy in the video did not. The voice was different. The hair was different. The glasses were different. The man had a big mole on his head. Everything was different," unquote. Webb said, quote, "It was crazy. The detective finally admitted that he was absolutely sure it was not Mr. Wall. Well, why didn't he watch it to begin with? You'd think that would be the first thing they would do when arresting someone on a charge like that," unquote. After 105 days in jail, Wall was released October 6, 2014. During his incarceration, he lost his job, where he'd worked for 23 years. He also lost his home when it was auctioned off because he was in jail on the date he was supposed to be in court to have a lien on the home lifted. Though the charges were dropped and expunged from public records, his reputation was left in shatters. He lost his church and youth ministry position when he was arrested. His job refuses to rehire him. Wall saying, quote, "When I got papers showing I was cleared of everything, I sent it to the people in management. I didn't get a reply from any of them, but I did get a call from Human Resources saying they didn't have any position for me and good luck with my career," unquote. An attorney interested in the case told Wall, quote, "Sue them for everything you can come up with," unquote. Wall sued the Harnett County for compensation for the loss of his job, home, and good name. In 2015, they reached a settlement of $50,000. The last man arrested was 46-year-old Development and Operations Director William Akers in March 2015. William was the man police thought was Tommy Wall. William was apprehended at 1 a.m. while working the night shift at Lulu Press, an online publishing company in Raleigh. His images were shown to the Mills, who identified him as Peter Gilbert, but authorities learned that was an alias. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, went back to the media asking help in finding a, quote, "white male, 40 to 50 years of age, who may be using the name Peter Gilbert and may be driving a white pickup truck," unquote. They obtained 80 leads before William was properly identified. William was charged with production of child pornography and conspiracy to produce child pornography. He was sentenced to 17.5 years in prison and a lifetime of supervision after his release. He also has to pay a $20,000 fine. HSI Operation Predator led the investigation. Operation Predator is an international initiative to protect children from sexual predators that launched in 2003. They have successfully arrested more than 10,000 individuals, and in 2014, more than 2,300 individuals were arrested, with more than 1,000 victims rescued or identified. In a 2008 article, a government task force targeting child predators called Operation Broken Heart, quote, led to the identification of 195 offenders guilty of child pornography or child sex abuse, and the identification of 383 child victims of child pornography or sexual abuse, unquote, during April and May 2017. The article continues that the task force investigated over 25,200 sexual complaints. Operation Broken Heart consisted of, quote, 61 Internet Crimes Against Children, ICAC, task forces in all 50 states, and more than 4,500 federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies, unquote. You are encouraged to report any and all suspected child predators or any suspicious activity to the HSI tip line at 1-866-DHS-2-ICE. That is 1-866-347-2423. If you are outside the U.S. and Canada, you are encouraged to call 802-872-6199. If you suspect a child may be being sexually exploited or missing, you should call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That is 1-800-843-5678. Or, as always, you may contact your local police for any and all concerns of child abuse or harm. Elizabeth Mills wants to appear as a typical God-fearing mother and wife on social media, bringing up random thoughts or life-changing events. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that people play a role on social media. They hide or exaggerate to appear better or more kept. But what's done in the dark always comes to the light. I'm Mrs. True Crime, and remember to be kind, be loud, be aware. For more information about the sex exploitation ring in Sanford, why not check out some of these awesome links? And if you like what you saw and heard today, why not drop a like and a comment? Maybe subscribe while you're here. I make new videos every Wednesday, and you don't want to miss what's in store.